Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. It is June 11th, I believe. Real quick, you might have heard in the ad, I'm not in Cape Cod yet. I'm going to put a yet on that. We don't know what the rest of the year or next year brings, but I knew changes were coming. I had that feeling in my gut, yet I went ahead and bought 3 months of beauty patches for my eyes as though I'd be away, but I won't be there. But Psychic Stand-Up is on its way back. Some of it's going to be live. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm so excited about my guest today because not only do I love, you might have heard Jessica mention her, I think 2 podcasts ago, how much Abigail Moss helped her. And also because of all you that I read about awakenings, put your headphones on and get ready to really listen, because my guest today, it does mentorships for healers, seekers, and dreamers. And first of all, Abigail, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. So much fun to be here.
This is so exciting. And I'll sort of lay out, I'm going to find out, first I want to find out about your journey. And then probably in the second and third part, I want to hit the mentorship, because I feel like you said it perfectly. Your beautiful website said it perfectly on the tape, that this was what you wish you had when you were first awakening. And I cannot say enough how many people I read for that are just having trouble, that this sounds perfect. So tell me, how did your journey begin?
Yeah, absolutely. So several years ago, maybe 8 now, I'm starting to lose track. But anyway, I got really disillusioned with the world. I got really overwhelmed with what was happening with animal agriculture, with, the environment, with, all different kinds of peoples and inequality. And I just got really heartbroken, and I realized I needed some help. And so I went and I discovered ayahuasca.
Yes.
I heard about it in a radio interview, and I was on a plane a couple of weeks later to Peru. I knew that was right for me. And so that was very awakening, very transformative. But then I came back home to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I didn't have any tools to deal with myself. So I had been opened up to all this magic, all this healing, but I still had all the stuff inside of me that I didn't know how to work with. And in some ways it was a lot, but I'm glad I went there, but it was almost more difficult in some ways because I was feeling so much more. There was a lot of intensity, and I didn't have any community or support or guidance to understand what I was going through and to really move through it. And so that really I went back to Peru a couple of years later, and I facilitated for a couple of months, and I met some more healers, and I kind of went on this journey of training and learning and shamanic healing and coaching and all kinds of things. And that's really where I learned, and I found the tools to ground, to connect with myself, to connect with life, and feel that awakening that I felt with ayahuasca, but to bring that into myself and to stabilize it, and then to move forward in a way that was purposeful and intentional and, more balanced.
That's, first of all, your ayahuasca sounded like mine, which was like the minute the woman was telling me about it, my friend Vanda, I was like, I have to do this. Like I didn't even know, she wasn't even done talking. And I was like, I have to do it. It was just like a gut thing, right? And
yes.
There were some comedians that would do it like every week or something. I don't know. They were doing it all the time.
Wow.
I think this is what I think they were doing something else recreational that I don't get or I don't understand, because it's not just like it takes me a day or two to land after. It's been a while since I did it, but you're almost like, then you want to talk about feeling like you're from another planet.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Like
yes.
I don't know how else to say it, but and then you come back to Calgary, which I don't know if you felt this, but it's almost like you feel electricity. You feel like the electricity running through the wires.
Yes.
It just makes you so overly sensitive, and it's like culture shock.
Yes, it's a huge culture shock. And you go from one world of being in this community and with shamans and, where I was surrounded by the jungle and nature, and all of this magic is happening and everyone there gets it and you can talk about it and it's normal. And then you go back home and you mentioned, the energy is so different and the culture is so different. And you try to explain your experience. People look at you like you have three heads. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, where do I go from here?
And you know what else? There's something about, and I've had several shamans on the show, and there's something about the way you trust them. Even in that experience, there's a trust that then you come home and the guy that, fixes your apartment looks at you side eye and you're like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like it yes. feels so open. And then you come home and sort of the real world kind of, maybe not the real world, bangs on you. And,
yes,
I did. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it's very much, I feel like it's very a heart-centered place where, like with the shamans, there's this deep understanding of life and the nature of life and their part within it and how they see you within that. And then coming home, it feels like that connection with life it's very different. Sorry, I just wanted to interject.
No, I'm terrible about interrupting. In fact, I went on a date and I'm surprised the guy asked me back because he was so exciting. I kept interrupting. So it just means I like you if I'm interrupting. So don't ever apologize. It's cool. Funny too. I did some mushrooms. I think I did them in college, but I don't know. I probably got taken. They probably weren't real mushrooms. It wasn't like when I did them here, there was another weird initiation. It felt like that's what my friend described it as. And I felt like I couldn't lie after that. Like I know I probably shouldn't be lying and I don't lie, but there was sort of like this, I think ayahuasca does that too. There's this awareness of like what a lie feels like. I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. I feel that too. I feel that a lot these days where it's like, I just can't, it's just not in alignment. I can't go out of alignment because it just doesn't feel right. There's like a disconnect there.
Yeah. It sort of sets me back. So you come back home. What was sort of your job or practice at that time?
At that time, I was a wedding photographer. And I left and so I shot weddings with my husband and I was all about like getting successful and being known and working my butt off. And I went to ayahuasca and I came back and I told him, none of this matters, which he loved hearing, by the way, after working so hard. But it was just like a total paradigm shift. And I realized that what I had been doing was not what I was meant to be doing. And I was so desperately trying to figure out what that was. I really wanted to know what my purpose was. And I was just asking ayahuasca and ayahuasca was like, figure it out. So, but it was a journey. And then it became a journey of just following the clues of what felt right. And then that led me to doing this healing work.
Yeah. When I read tarot for people, and they don't know what they're doing or their purpose, shall we say, either one, there's two things that will happen, which is either I will get it and they'll say, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like they almost need that confirmation. Or sometimes I'll feel the cards block me. Like, they got to figure it out. They got to go do it themselves. So it's a very interesting. So I have to ask, Blunt, still married?
I am. Yes. Yay! It's been thank you. It's been quite a journey. With this stuff, it was a lot of growth and we didn't grow linearly or at the same time, but we came back and we figured it out. And now we're on our own paths, but alongside each other, which feels really good. That's
great. I know some people that just turns into like a, who are you? I don't even know who you are anymore. So that's fantastic. Good news for everybody out there.
It was a lot of work. And we worked with an Imago couples therapist. Imago therapy is incredible for any couples out there. It's been totally life-changing for me and a bunch of people I know. So
what is that therapy?
It's called Imago, so MIAGO, and it's developed by a couple. I remember his name. It'll come to me, but they developed this several years ago, and they work with companies. They work with married couples, and they almost separated ages ago. And it's this very structured approach to creating a safe space to talk about challenges and go back and forth and see each other and see the inner child within each other of where those patterns are coming from. And it's a process of, instead of doing this dance where you're triggering each other and kind of rehashing the old childhood wounds, which is really what it's all about in relationship problems, you become allies in your own healing, and you kind of get to be seen by your partner.
Wow, that's already. I don't even have a partner, but I'm gonna look that up because I foresee problems already if I get married.
Well, we've all got it, right? Every single human I know.
Maybe this is how I can stop that fantasy.
Yeah, he's got a book called "Getting the Love You Want" by Harville Hendricks. That's the name. So if you want to check out the book, it's a great like roadmap, and then there's therapists who are trained in that specific format.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you come home and you are a photographer, and you're like, this isn't cutting it anymore. What is your path to the next thing?
Yeah, so being really frustrated and angry and emotional for 2 years.
I'm there.
Right, like it was so productive. I eventually made it back to Peru, and I volunteered as a facilitator, and I did photography there because it was really inspiring to take pictures of these shamans and all this magic happening. And so that was really when I got to immerse myself deeper, got to let go of a lot more of my resistance to following my own path. I think that's really where I got caught. I was stuck in this place of, I don't want to let go of my life as I know it, but I don't know what else to do. And I don't like things as I know it. So it's just this tug of war I was at. So going there, working with the plants, working with the shamans, meeting other healers, and just really going really deep with nature and life and consciousness. It was really profound. And then a friend of mine I met there does shamanic Chinese medicine. And so I was inspired. And so I trained in that. And I really learned how to ground, how to connect with myself, how to balance my energy and really connect with life and the universe and the multiple realms that we live within in a really powerful way.
I have like 17 questions just while you're talking. So
I'll pause. I won't give you a monologue.
No. It's all great. You're on a roll. In fact, I think that we might talk 20 minutes on grounding, but Chinese medicine.
Oh my God. Yes.
I know. I'm having a trouble with it all of a sudden too. Chinese medicine is like, I'm literally looking for a naturopath or Chinese medicine or something here in Los Angeles because it is so different than what we think it is. I mean, what we think medicine is. Like, it just is the whole thing encompassed, isn't it?
It is. It really looks at, the health component, because I do more of the shamanic side, more of the spiritual side, but like the Chinese medicine as a whole, you think of Western medicine, it looks at the body like a machine. And that can be helpful in certain ways when you're repairing bones and looking at very individualized systems. Chinese medicine looks at the body like a garden. So you want to have a balance of elements. You want to take out the weeds. You want to plant good seeds. And it really looks at the body very holistically, much like Ayurvedic medicine does. So it's really, it accounts for many things that are going on, and then many layers with the shamanic element that incorporates the mental and emotional and spiritual component of any physical illness in the body.
This may be, I may be way out there with this question, but there's a pattern that, and this is going to get really specific. So you may be like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. There's a pattern. A friend of mine, her stepdad got a stent put in his heart. And she always tells me he came back a different person. And we have asked a bunch of people, and for some reason, this seems to be a theme that older gentlemen get a stint put in and then they're very grumpy or just not nice. And I'm sure just psychologically when even when I can't do the exercises I used to, everybody wants to go, you're old. That's because you're old, which I don't always believe, but I wonder if that's they're getting older. Or we spoke to a friend that's an acupuncturist, and she said sometimes when you have surgery, they the element of air takes over the body. Does any of this make sense, or am I making it up in my head?
No, this makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there any way to fix that, or does that sound familiar? Or is this the first time anyone's brought it up?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You can change that. You can heal that. So there's a couple of pieces to that. So one with surgery. There's energy that flows all through the body. So it's called meridians in Chinese medicine's energy pathways. And in surgery, it cuts through these meridians. It cuts into the body. It's very traumatic for the body to be cut open. Sometimes it's necessary, but it's very difficult for the body. And it's going to be a lot of processing of emotion. It's going to be really taxing on the liver, which processes the emotion and it filters the blood and it cleans. It does a lot. And so right away, if there's surgery, there's going to be emotional turmoil after.
Oh.
The heart in Chinese medicine it houses the spirit. And so the heart's very protective. It doesn't really want a lot of stuff getting in there. And if there's a stent needed, there's something else that was going on already. So there's something that it might be something that's not fully resolved. And the heart is very much tied to emotion. It's kind of where emotions are processed as well. What I would suggest for healing this is doing something like energy work. So I learned medical Qigong, which is a kind of Chinese energy healing. And so similar to Reiki, but just a lot of complexity.
More detail.
Yeah, a lot of detail. But something like that to reconnect the meridians that were broken during the surgery. And then to also feel into energetically and emotionally what's going on that's causing that grumpy feeling. And, and with anger, the other side of anger is often sadness. And anger is the kind of outside face that protects us from feeling that more painful sadness underneath. So often when there's some kind of physical issue in the body, there's unexpressed emotion that needs to be released in some way.
Holy cow, that was like the greatest answer. I thought that was a shot in the dark, and look, you've already blown my mind. And you know what else? This is a really, I hope this isn't maybe it would be reverse racist. I think, I feel everybody's got a hard thing. Everybody's got it hard. I always say this about comics. If you're a female comic, the club doesn't want female comics. If you're black, they're like, we got too many black comics. Whatever. If you're a white male, it's like we got 100 white males. There's always a thing, but I do feel sometimes a lot of compassion for the patriarchy and what white males have had to, they got assigned something too, which was, you got to be the boss. You got to, they got assigned their part too. And I wonder if that's sort of the thing we're seeing, that it touches that, it hits that emotion. If that's an emotion, it sounds more like something I made up in my head.
Oh, Karen, I love this topic so much.
Oh, great.
Yeah, 100%. It's any imbalance. Everyone feels that, right? And so, the patriarchy, you could call it masculine. We all have masculine, feminine within each of us, but I'm going to kind of just broadly summarize it as women, feminine, men, masculine. That's a very black and white, simplified version. But working with that, the feminine is kind of, it draws from this deep insight. The feminine is what draws purpose and vision. It kind of goes deep into the raw chaos of reality, and it extracts that deeper meaning from that place. And then the masculine supports the feminine by giving it form and bringing it into the world. This is when it's in balance, when it's in harmony. When it's out of harmony, the masculine kind of doesn't know how to be. It doesn't really know why it's moving forward. So it's a lot of doing with less purpose and clarity. And then the feminine is kind of more withdrawn, more inward, with less of the doing, less of the action. So when it's out of balance, everybody feels that.
Everybody suffers. I had a friend that was, or I don't know if she was a brilliant psychologist. I don't know if it was her, but somebody told me that when men, I'm sure that there's the opposite of females, I can't remember it, but when men sort of push away or are not in tune with their feminine side, you can hear them whine. They get whiny. And I have never forget that. Whenever I hear a guy getting whiny, I'm like, get in touch with your female side, dude. Paint a picture, smell a flower.
Yeah.
And one more question about this, because I don't have a trouble with this, but at this time, and not before, not in the future, because I love, first of all, I love anything that gets me to leave my body. So I love anesthesia, but right now I kind of feel like that's a little bit, I know physically there's bad things that could happen, but is it a bad time to leave your body right now? Or is that just always a rule to try not to do that much under those circumstances?
Leaving the body?
Yeah, or to just too many surgeries and too many anesthesias, or is that maybe depends on the person?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything that knocks you out of your body, sometimes you need help getting back in. Sometimes there's like a part of, and like you mentioned earlier with these men who've been getting stints and coming back not quite the same, part of the spirit does, get knocked out of the body during the anesthetic and don't always find all of our way back. And so part of that, with the shamanic work would mean calling the spirit back into the heart fully. And when it comes to being in the body, I believe it's always better. It's always safer to be in your body. You want it to be inhabited only by you. Yeah. And, if there's a void, something will fill it. And being it's not always comfortable, right? Like having a body, being on the earth plane, it doesn't always feel good, and it doesn't always feel safe to be in your body. Mm. That's where all the emotions and the memories of things that have happened are stored. And that's really kind of where the work of doing the healing to let that stuff out, to be released, comes in, so that your body can feel like a safe place to live, like a good place to be.
Yeah, that's well, we're gonna take a break right now, and we'll be right back about the body being a safe place to be, and also I want to start with grounding, which is a topic everyone needs to listen. It's just a thing. All right, folks, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, just a quick update. I will not be at Tin Pan Alley in Cape Cod, at least not in the beginning of June. So keep your fingers crossed that I can change that announcement, or maybe even next year you'll see me there. But right now, that date has been postponed. I am restarting my psychic stand-up show at Flappers the fourth Thursday of every month, which is very exciting. And also, if you're in the LA area, you can see me headlining there July 24th. I'll keep you updated on that. Other than that, you can go to my website, karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com, and book a reading or check out my videos. And hey, don't be afraid to drop me an email. I love to hear from you guys. Maybe suggest a guest, maybe tell me your favorite guest, maybe tell me to shut up. Either way, karenrontowski.com. Let's get back to the podcast. And folks, if there was a little click there, it's because my recording equipment is from like the 1800s. So you were talking about grounding, and you were talking about holding your stomach, feeling it expand and feeling it come in.
Yes. So place a hand on your belly, and then as you inhale, feeling your belly expand. And then as you exhale, just naturally feeling your belly collapse. And this might be hard for some people because a lot of emotion gets trapped in the belly. Kind of what we don't feel in that moment kind of gets pushed down to this area. And doing this will also it may also bring up some heat, some feelings of warmth. It may bring up emotions or memories of things that haven't fully been processed. Or it may just help you feel really, really relaxed. It really is soothing for the nervous system. It naturally calms the mind, and it naturally brings you into your body. And you can try it lying down at first. It can be easier that way. And then we kind of want to get into a place where we're always breathing deeply like this. So, when you're doing the dishes, just think about, how am I breathing right now? When you're walking, how am I breathing? And just imagine just taking those deep breaths, and you're going to feel the difference in your nervous system, in your body. You're going to feel your awareness sink into deeper parts of your body. The more that you do this, the more you'll feel that.
I have a terrible problem of holding breathing in my chest, like that fight or flight all the time. Mm-hmm. And also, it kind of is stinkola that whoever told us I don't know, the media, which we shouldn't be looking at anyways, but we're all supposed to have a flat stomach, and that doesn't help if you're holding your stomach in when you have to breathe. We have to give ourselves a little break with that. It's funny because I always think smokers are people that are trying to ground.
Yeah.
Which
100%. You go out and take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm. This is a much better way. Okay. That actually, any other suggestions? That one right there sounds like the best. I also like this one because say you're in a tense situation, your attention turns to holding your stomach, which helps you break that tension anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And it exactly. It breaks the tension. It interrupts that pattern, that loop of whatever might be playing in your mind and what you're experiencing. My guides are also telling me they want me to mention connecting in with the heart. Okay. And so so I would suggest the deep belly breathing when you're, as a practice to help you really, really give it to really do it when you need it the most, when it feels most challenging. With the heart, coming into it when you're already in a bit of a calmer place, maybe deep belly breathing, and then just kind of me placing a hand over your heart and breathing into your heart and just feeling your heartbeat in your body. And as you feel your heartbeat, it reminds you that you're alive, that you are here. You have this body, you have this animal body on earth, surrounded by other animals, surrounded by other life. And your heart's kind of an entry point in reconnecting with all of this.
I love in yoga, I do a lot of yoga, and thank God it's back. I that's what I needed it so badly. But we have such a strange relationship with our body. And one of the things is like, because of my posture or something, I have problems with my right shoulder. It doesn't go all the way up. And at first I was like trying to do yoga and I was like, stupid shoulder, right? like a 4-year-old, stupid shoulder. And then I was like, that's not helping. And now it's kind of like, and as yoga helped it daily, like I feel like I pretend my whole body is going, you got this shoulder, like it's cheering instead of yelling at the shoulder. I know that's
good. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that for our bodies, right?
Yeah, because your body loves you unconditionally, and it has the memory of everything you've been through. And a big part of what I do is working with the body and working with the energy, like the beliefs and the traumas we've experienced and any blocks that we've experienced. Everything you can feel somewhere in your body. And, to heal it shamanically is really about going deep into that and creating a dialogue with it and bringing understanding and peace with it. And the body is a powerful portal back to yourself and your freedom.
And this is very interesting because I kind of feel like I love therapy, but I think just talking is done, that we have to move to the next level, which is getting the cells or the vibration out of the body. And people always say to me, I will suggest a shamanic healing, and they'll always say, what is that? And then I'm like, there's drumming, or there could be like, can you explain how, what would be a good answer for that when someone says, well, what is it that you do? What is a shamanic healing?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I feel like I do a lot of things. Shamanic healing is kind of like the core piece, the foundation of it. But I think ultimately, to simplify it, you could say it's healing the spiritual aspect of an issue. And the idea is kind of coming into a place of wholeness. And so, with the inner child, when we experience something in life that's painful, it's like a part of the self kind of breaks off. And whatever age you're at that time, it kind of is a part of you that's still stuck in that. So, with relationships, how we often trigger each other, there's a part of our younger self that has this wound that's being re-triggered, rehashed in this partner. And in a way, it's trying to be healed because we end up finding partners that remind us of these things that hurt when we were young. And so shamanic healing and much of how I do it is working with the energy of a person's spirit, with the energy of nature, of guides, and bringing the person back into a place of wholeness. So finding healing and peace with that younger part of the self so it can be reintegrated back into the whole.
Wow. And does that sort of, it does grid work too. It's just sort of, it's something that you have had training in that we don't really see it. Does that make sense?
I think everybody can see it. And I train people to be able to see it, but it's within all of us. It's just, I think it's just fine tuning to a sense of the awareness of the experience of the many layers and depths of the reality that we exist in. And it's all, to me, at the end of the day, it's all energy, it's all consciousness. And it's just pulling back the veils. And as we come into that place of wholeness, things get more and more clear, and you can see greater and greater depths and more connection with an even bigger whole, with a connection with life, with the universe.
Yeah. I tell everyone to talk to trees. Talk to trees in your mind.
Yes.
Connect.
Trees are fantastic. I love trees.
That was one of the funniest moments when my shaman was at my house. We did it at my house, which is, talk about spoiled, to have your first ayahuasca trip in your living room. Like, I'm not even leaving. Bring it to me. And we were sitting by the window talking, and all of a sudden she looks back at the window, and then she looks at me and she goes, "Man, your trees are nosy." I was like, I guess they were coming in. She was like, "Back off." And I just thought that was so funny. I still like that. You know what I do when they come in the winter and they trim them is I always do a meditation where I try to put energy down in the ground and hold their roots, like with my hands, like it's going to be okay. Which I'm going to jump back for a second. You had sort of, I think a lot of people, there's a empathy, and you had sort of mentioned it in the beginning. There's an empathy for animals that I think triggers a lot of, the way we treat them or the way we do. I think that is a huge, I know my friend's an animal communicator, and she always says, well, they are here, they have their purpose, it's obviously not to be tortured, but they have their purpose, they're trying to help us. Was that a big part of your journey, was just like, it just isn't, just how can this be right?
Yeah, you were very intuitive, Karen. That has been a huge part of my journey, like this lifetime, and I've done a lot of kind of soul, I call it soul journey work. So a lot of past lifetime work. And, that was my original wound when I first came to this planet. It was my kind of core wound. I was, back in the days where I was wearing a loincloth, I was a hunter, and I was in love with the earth. I was living solo, and I was just running wild and just loving being alive and being on the earth. And I loved hunting and killing animals. And I went to this one scene during yin yoga, came up, and I won't get too graphic, but I just hunted and killed this very large beast. And I loved it. I loved the feeling of it. I loved every part of it. And I looked up from my bloody hands, and I saw the herd there, and I made eye contact with them. And in that moment, I felt what they felt. And I'm like emotional talking about this. And I felt just my heart fully broke for them. Yeah. It just broke so deeply. And I just felt like, I hate that I've done this, and I hate that this is the way here. Yeah. And I've spent thousands of lifetimes being upset about that, and been healing that this lifetime.
Go ahead. I keep jumping in. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. And I was just going to say, part of the journey for me has been going back to that time and bringing love to it, because I was angry that I didn't want the world to be the way the world is, and how, that's the way the world is. There's a lesson in that for me. And so I could go and I could bring love to that, and I could continue looking into the eyes of those animals with the pain there and bring love. And that's the process of transmuting that pain. And I've done lots of journeys working with other animals and talking with the wolf kingdom and asking them, the wolf kingdom, about it, because wolves bring balance to forests. Without wolves, like they've happened in Yosemite, they reintroduced wolves and everything came back into balance. The deer populations supported, the plant populations. And so wolves understand this process. Wow. And so I asked the wolves, and the wolves said, you need forgiveness. if you don't forgive, you push us all out. You push us all away and you make it all wrong. And that's more painful. And so forgiveness and bringing love to it. And, if it wasn't painful like this, I wouldn't have learned how to love in this way. I wouldn't have learned this depth of love. And that's something that being on earth has been a huge lesson for me.
That the whole thing about forgiveness, and I will correct others. I'll be like, you can't forgive yourself. There's so many layers to forgiveness, and some of it is martyrdom. They want that, and some of it is they just can't. And I actually am trying to write a joke about how we don't respect forgiveness in this country. We really don't. We want a grudge. We want revenge. Mm-hmm. That's what the movies are based on. That is so beautiful about the forgiveness. I can't look at it too long, because those pictures that come up on Facebook or something of famous people that go game hunting and how proud they look when standing over the body. And I think that probably early in my life, I may have been at that, like, well, they're silly animals. What are you worried about animals? And now it's like, that's a different person that, like, I don't know. It's a different level of, I love what you said about forgiveness. That's what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's awakening. It's an awakening journey. And I think a lot of people experience this. They go through this of opening up to the pain of others and outside of our species and within our planet. And there's a lot of pain there. It can be overwhelming. And a lot of empaths and a lot of healers go into that because of who we are. And so coming into that place of forgiveness and healing, and ultimately I feel like it just brings in even deeper layer of depth and understanding and love as you move through all those layers.
My favorite movie, I probably have talked about it too much on my podcast, but it's called What Dreams May Come, and it's about the afterlife, and it's really about suicide. And there's a line in it how hell is filled with people who won't forgive themselves. It's not that they've done bad things, they won't forgive themselves. Mm-hmm. And I'll never
100%.
Yeah, there was a near-death experience that was about it was about, she saw people in hell and it was just as bad as it sounds, but she said, but no one would look up to see the door was open and they were welcome to leave whenever they wanted.
Yes.
I think
100%. And I've heard this from Angel Kingdom too, is you just look up. When you're entrenched in the mud, you're often looking down, and then our consciousness brings focus, and we create more of that. It's like the steering wheel. And so shift your steering, shift your gaze up, and then that's where you start moving towards.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And 100% with self-forgiveness.
Yeah. It's huge. Hard. It's just a hard thing. We never.
Sorry, I think you cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, it's just self-forgiveness is just a hard thing. And we're at the break, so hang on, folks. We'll be right back. And then we're going to get into the mentorship and what happens there and how it helps you. So we'll be right back.
Psychic teas, spelled with a Z, are scrumptious herbal combinations with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Without sugar or caffeine, psychic teas won't mess with any medications and are designed by a naturopathic doctor. Many testify to positive results. Detox chakras and psychic tea blends enable bodily functions with superior efficacy, while more love and champagne blends support awareness of subtle joy and bliss. The CBD's teas are magical with myriad healing effects. There are 20 servings per package. A little dab'll do ya, and you can drink it hot or cold. Psychic teas taste so good. Replace coffee, use as a bedtime ritual, or even flavor a meal or dessert. The people behind the product are righteous and kind. Psychic teas will blow your mind. Totally worth the investment. Psychic teas with a Z.com.
All right. So people are the information they need, or the mentorship they need now. Someone is coming into their awakening and they come to you. Give us a preview of how this unfolds or how you help them.
Yeah. So kind of the core piece of what we do is kind of three parts. So the first part is healing. So coming into a place of wholeness, of feeling good in your body, that's kind of the foundation for everything else. Because you don't want to be, I can imagine all that stuff that's not healed is like carrying around big boulders. It's like, I'm going to go try to do things in the world, but when you're carrying these boulders around, it makes it a lot harder. So we put the boulders down. And then we really tune into connecting with your gifts and the purpose, the unique purpose that you come here to share with the world, and getting really clear on who you are, really clear on what that is and your place within life and within the universe. And then the next part is sharing that with the world. So connecting deeper with your inner self, with your future self, with kind of your higher self, and getting clear on how you're going to be sharing that with the world and the steps to take it, and releasing any blocks along the way. So any feelings around worthiness, around being seen, around abundance. So we move through any of those things that may come up, or that often come up when you're on your path of what you're really meant to be doing.
Now, on your really interesting topic that I saw on your podcast is Impostor Syndrome. I feel like so many people are having trouble with that. Oops, I think I did lose you first. Oh, there you go. You back? Oops, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we were having a little click in and out, but I think we fixed it. It was too many good vibrations that was doing the internet. But Verizon can't take it. They're trying to kill us with 5G, and we're fighting back with good vibes. So imposter syndrome, I had never heard of this, and it's huge, and I totally get it.
It is huge, and it's like an epidemic. The beliefs are something that will totally change how we feel about our life, the thoughts we think, the emotions we feel, how much permission we give ourselves to really dream big and reach for what we really want in life. And with imposter syndrome, it kind of comes down to self-worth and feeling good enough. And at the end of the day, am I good enough to do this? And it's kind of funny because you'd never look at a tree in the forest and think that it's not worthy of being a tree, or that it's not good enough to be what it is. And you never look at the sun and think it's not good enough, or the ocean, or, your beloved pet. But as humans, we make up these stories about ourselves, about our worth, about life, and about relationships with others. But that's all they are, is they're just stories. And at the end of the day, we have a place in life. We belong here with life as a part of it and as consciousness. And so it's kind of just pulling off these layers of things that are not really true, so that you can really be who you are and do the work that you came here to do.
It really, I don't even know what society, I'm trying to think if there's one that actually supports. I know I'm being general here, but I feel like the way we grew up, everybody, like, oh, don't get a big head, or you got to beat that other person. Like, we just are not a nurturing society. And the minute somebody gets nurturing, we like jump on them. Like my friend Brian has the funniest joke, Brian Kiley, where he says there's people that don't want everyone to get a trophy because they're worried there's going to be a big trophy shortage coming up. And you know what? And I'm like, you know what? Give the kid a trophy. Life is going to get hard whether you give it to him now or not. So give him a trophy and let him feel better. I mean, that's me, but I don't have kids. I don't like them.
I'm totally on board with that. It's like positive affirmations are a very powerful thing, and believing in the reality that you want to create. And that feeling of, it's the scarcity versus abundance mindset of like, don't give them a trophy now because there might not be any. Well, there's an endless supply of trophies out there.
Yes, we'll make more.
We can make more, yeah. And it's just it's a very old thing. It's a very, very old thing that's part of life. And back in the day of scarcity, like there's not enough food to live, or there's not enough to sustain, and that was a problem that most of us at some lifetime have probably faced. And so I kind of feel these sort of epidemic of beliefs and mindsets as something that's kind of being transmuted on earth through each of us. And a lot of these things are very old and vast, and we each play our own part in healing it within ourselves and by extension, the collective.
Yeah. I just watched this great film and it was called Thrive 2, and it starts with the collective, the universal earth field, and then it goes everywhere to personal freedom, to energy for the planet, to it just goes everywhere. And one of the things they say in that is you are where you are because of what you tolerate. And it wasn't like you're not manifesting, or you may have these great things, but you're where you are because of what you tolerate. And I thought that's a really interesting statement.
Yes, it's so true. Yeah. And, when you get, we've all been to that place of like, that's it, that's enough, like fed up. And that's often where change really begins to happen because, as humans, we're creatures of habit. And so it's not a requirement. You can grow through joy, but often when things get to a certain point, we eventually get fed up and begin making a change.
And sometimes I feel like I always will say this to when I'm on the road and then I get on the plane and I'm uncomfortable, and then I get in the cab, and then I go to the rental car, and then I finally get to the hotel room and I go up the stairs, and then the key doesn't work. And then at that point I'm like, all right, do you just want me to get mad? And then once I get angry, everything goes the right way. So I guess I'm supposed to get angry sometimes.
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before. I find the opposite when I get mad. Things don't go very well. But maybe the universe is saying it's good for you to have a little bit of anger. Let some anger out.
I think maybe that's it. Let it out. It's not really saying it's good to get mad, but it's like don't stop trying to be a good person just because, you know what I mean? And then I can't get into my room. Have you ever broken something with your energy? Like I tend to break printers, or maybe they just commit suicide around me because I get so angry. I'm like, you are a simple thing. Just do the one. And then when it works, I always say thank you. So at least I'm.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. When it comes to, technology, everything's got its own consciousness, and it's a relationship, right? And so I'm not 100% kind to mine either, but I find that when I'm loving on it, it works better.
I took a parapsychology class, and they literally said people that say I hate computers have an awful time and break computers, and people that love them, like they just find the right one, or they, I think I used to hate Apple. Now I'm like in the cult. So iPads come to me.
Yeah. It's the stories we tell ourselves that form our reality.
Exactly. So when you go through these 3 processes with people, how long is the mentorship? It's like 3 months or so?
Oh, it's actually 6 months. So we go on a big journey. And so we meet once a week over Zoom, and I work with people from all over the world, and we meet for a couple hours, and we connect in our online community and do kind of growth exercises in between classes. But that's kind of the format of it. And I found that kind of tends to be the best because it builds so much momentum to have this regular check-in, to this regular kind of step up and move through it. Because I don't know, I find that when I work with people I work with, who a lot of them are healers, a lot of them are people who've been through a lot of trauma, which a lot of healers have. There's a lot of layers. And so we work through a lot of layers of healing, of coming into connection, of, with yourself, with everything, and then connecting with your purpose and your gifts and getting clarity on how to share them. And, to say it's all that happens in 6 months, it kind of feels like the speedboat, but it's a very steady, progressive journey to get to that place.
Well, it's also one of those things, because I know with like shamanic healings, it goes on for a while after the healing. Like it, yeah. I just did one and I got so touchy and emotional. There was a day where I was like, you are not allowed to talk to anyone else again. You are not, you need to stay in the house and you can yell at the printer, but leave other people alone.
Processing.
Yes. I would imagine the hardest part is the first part where you're talking about putting the boulder down. Is that where people, because we really get attached to everything from our pain to our martyrdom. So is that the hardest part usually?
I feel like it can be very gentle, and that's kind of my approach is doing it in a really gentle way. And it's feeling it. So part of it is feeling it and accessing that within you so that you can let it go. And so to that degree, yeah, it takes the will, the desire to do so. But that's where so much growth and freedom happens so quickly, because who you are on the other side of that stuff that you've been carrying is you. It's you unencumbered, which is, a part of feeling so light and so alive and so aligned and clear in who you are. We kind of accept what we're dealing with as our normal until we don't have to deal with it, and we realize what normal can be. And so I feel like that's probably the most freeing part of it.
Oddball question. I know that I feel like our diet has a lot to do with how we, I know it is how we treat ourselves. I have a very strange situation. I live in a building that's incredibly haunted, and it has always been a problem. And the apartment next to me, and I'm good at getting stuff out. That's what I do. But I also read tarot in my apartment. And sometimes even with apartment buildings, it's hard because you kick something out and it comes back in. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
And I just, as an astrologer told me, you just made paranormal. You have all these planets about the underworld and Uranus all in the same thing. So she's like, I don't know that your places are haunted. I think everything's coming to you. But it's so funny because across the hall, someone just moved in. Everything went to them. And I know this is a weird leap, but I notice they come home with all fast food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like it's the what not to do diet. And they're older and they sit in front. They're the nicest people in the world. And they sit and I almost was like, did everything go over there and just keep stealing their energy? Like, what was it? Because my apartment has never been this quiet. And I just know. And I was like, what's going on over there? And I know they're not worried and they're not in tune and they don't feel haunted, but it was I don't know if there's any insight. I feel like what we eat keeps our aura either shiny and bright or that heaviness.
Yeah, 100%. And there's kind of two things I wanted to mention here, but with what we eat, it's the density of the food. It's the nutritional quality of the food, because food is nourishment, food is life force. And if it's been deep fried, a lot of that life force has been cooked out of it. And so if you have a denser frequency, you kind of imagine it like tuning to a radio station. If you go to a radio station where it kind of, you feel tuned down with what you've been eating and where you've been or what you've been thinking or what you've been doing, other frequencies are going to be pulled to that because it's within the same station. So they're gonna and then as you shift your frequency up, you notice things. I mean, life starts looking more vibrant, more joyful, and so you just kind of shifting dials on the radio. Also, I think there's a vortex at your apartment.
I think you're right. And you know what? This is not the first apartment I've had with a vortex.
It seems to be something, something that's maybe in resonance with your purpose of working with that. I worked with one of my last mentor groups. They had a vortex in their house, and there's just so much stuff coming in, and we ended up lifting the vortex up into the sky, and Spirit did most of the work. But with that, so much of Tampa, like so many of these spirits that were in the area of Florida, the whole city and the land and the water and people's homes all kind of started lifting up and going into the light through that vortex. It was incredibly beautiful, but I've since realized that vortexes can be a powerful way to bring spirits back into the light.
That's interesting that you say that, because now you're super psychic. I did have this shamanic healing, and I keep getting, and even my astrological chart keeps saying I'm a medium, which I'm working on. But the shaman said, no, you're even a better medium than a tarot reader, which has always been my focus. And she said, you're supposed to be crossing souls over. So maybe I'm attracting vortexes so I can send them away.
Yeah, it sounds like there's that's kind of aligned with your purpose and your gifts. And there's a lot of souls that need help crossing over. And I don't remember who it was, but there was a shaman that came to North America and said, you have a lot of dead people here. There's a lot of Like, yeah, we do. I get lineups whenever I'm helping souls go into the light. And I just do like a group call at the end of it, because there's so many that need help moving up, because so many people, through trauma, they don't know where to go, or they're confused, or they don't believe in the light, or like you mentioned earlier, they don't believe they're deserving of it, so they punish themselves, or they have unfinished business here on earth and with people here. So there's lots of reasons for people not going into the light. And so we just have this surplus of souls and spirits who are kind of between worlds, which, I found that the mediumship work, if it calls to you, has been incredibly heart opening and profoundly beautiful, because it really comes into that place of love at the end of the day.
And pardon the police helicopter that just went over my house, but this is I'm in Los Angeles. So we have them, so it's like she should be a medium.
Los Angeles agrees.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think I'm getting the messages on this through the dream, and that I'm supposed to, and the shaman helped me redo the program, but it is very interesting. It's funny when all the pieces fit together. In fact, my mind is a little blown by you talking about the vortex and everything going on like this, because I had one dream where I went to bed and I was like, tell me about being a medium, right? Program my dreams. And then I had all these dreams where wherever I was, all the toilets were overflowing, which I was told that bathroom dreams, whether you have to go to the bathroom or the toilet's not working or anything like that, those are always control dreams. And I was like, okay, so my guides must be telling me, stop trying to control it, just, flow with it, sort of. Yeah, toilet flow. There you go. And there was another one that was, it was about a seraphim really showed me what they looked like, which is very weird, but it was all right. I forgot the second one. Anyways, what a wonderful, see, you've already got my head working in 10 different ways.
Well, I wanted to say too, I love that you use the dream world to get more clarity. And there's ways that you can kind of go deep into it. So, being a tarot reader too, you already channel, you already know how to connect with all those streams of consciousness. So in dreams, you can connect with each symbol in your dream. So you could become the toilet. It's like, I am, I am. And then you just give 3 words to describe yourself as the toilet. So you could be, I am
clogged.
Clogged.
Overflowing. Everyone's waiting for me.
Waiting. Yeah, there you go. And, and you could say something like, what I represent is, or what I represent for Karen is. And then you can unpack that further. And, you can do it now, you can do it anytime. You can unpack that further into, and the message I have for Karen is this. And then you kind of start piecing together all the symbols in your dream, the act of it overflowing. You could come into that, I am the overflowing. And you kind of put a story together. And as you unpack these pieces, it's just profound messages for you. And I found dreams to be deeply personal to each person and deeply profound, even the ones that seem the most mundane or have so many powerful messages.
Yeah, I have I just started remembering my dreams again, and I don't know and folks, I don't think this is June 11th, but I'm always wrong on that anyway, so don't worry, don't check your calendar. You probably know what date it is more than I did when we started this. Suddenly I am having a million dreams, and then I wake up and I've been asleep 2 minutes. Is that just messages all at once?
Sorry, say again?
Is that, see, the internet is getting at us again. Is there anything, is that just how there's no time, but when you have 1,000 dreams and then you realize you've only been asleep for 2 minutes, is there?
Yeah.
That's just a lot of messages?
There's a lot that Spirit wanted to share with you. And absolutely, the dream world is outside of space and time. Consciousness is beyond space and time. It's how we can kind of travel forward and backward in it. But with that, I find when there's so much potency in such a short period of time, there's important and large messages for you.
Wow. All right. So, before we move on, a couple of things. Your website is mindbodyfree.com. All three words all together. Mindbodyfree.com. And is there anything you want to say for people that are having trouble, or is there a particular person that I kind of feel like it's everyone right now that you want to just do a little pitch for your mentor class, so everybody will rush over as they should to get fixed. How was that? See, this is why I said your words were really good on your website. Tell everyone what they got to listen to get fixed on your site.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if people, I think right now we're in a time where the world is changing a lot. We're being called to go inward. We're being called to do what we really came here to do. And if what you're doing now is not deeply fulfilling, it's not what you're meant to be doing. But there is something out there for you. You do have a significant, important purpose, and what you have to share here is important. And you are worthy of sharing it. You are worthy of doing it. We all are. And having a community, having a tribe and guidance to understand, to unpack all of these pieces within yourself of everything you've been through and get clarity on who you are and what you're meant to be doing. You can have that. Everybody can have that. We all deserve that. I believe it's a destiny within each of us. And it's just simply a matter of some guidance of the right community and support and moving forward and finding it.
Support, I think, is the word that I keep thinking. That's support. Yeah, support is, I think, what so many people need right now, and that's really fantastic. So, well, thank you for coming on the show, Abigail Moss.
Well, thank you for having me, Karen. It's been a pleasure.
What a great last name for like a healer, Moss.
Yes.
Chinese herbal medicine, and I just love it. You're exactly where you're supposed to be.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's my husband's name. Whenever we walk in a forest, it's like, look, we're everywhere.
I love that.
Yes, we are.
And you have an email list that people can sign up because you're getting ready to start a new mentorship in July, correct?
Yes. So if you go to mindbodyfree.com and click on mentorship, or go to mindbodyfree.com/mentorship, there's a sign up link there. And you can also book a free discovery call with me. So I do 30-minute calls with everybody so they can see if it feels right. And some people will even like to book a session with me just to kind of understand how this all works and the power of it, and then kind of decide from there. So that's just options for if there's something that feels like it's calling you, that's different steps you can take.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Abigail. And yes, and everybody sign up for the email list.
Thank you, Karen. It's been so much fun talking with you.
You got it. Hey, everybody. That's our show this week. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, I'll see you on the road. I'll have more information about psychic stand-up. And thanks for listening. If you think of it, folks, if you can leave me a little review on iTunes or something, that would help me out. I'm trying to blow up the podcast this year. And thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. Everybody have a great day, evening, or whatever the heck is going on.